Aaron Forsythe watch that match. Is going to watch that match and say, "Oh, you know what? There's really nothing wrong with combo. Yeah, there's no reason to ban any of these cards. Goblin Pile Driver keeps these decks in check."
That's what we do.
So both players deciding if they want a mulligan. Oh, looks like Reid Duke is going to go down to 6 cards. Jim Davis looking over his hand. I see a Lackey. Looks like he's a Lackey and a mana to cast it.
He has Vial too. Remember, Lackey not that good on the draw. Tough to get through.
It's true.
Everyone's favorite 1/2 Golgari Elf, also making it even more difficult.
So Jim's still debating whether or not he wants to keep this hand. He has to make a decision before Reid draws his 6-card hand, though.
Decisions.
I believe he said. Did he say he's going to keep? Not sure.
I'm not sure. It looks like he's still analyzing.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
he just
so
said I keep. He just muttered.
So it is a tough one, but he knows his deck better than anyone else. So he knows what he's doing. I agree with you, though. It might be one of those things where he's like, all right, I have turn 1 Lackey, but I am in the draw. I'm playing against Elves. Might not be able to get it through. Is it enough? Does he? Is it
He's got a Vial.
He has a Vial too. Is this a 1-land Vial hand though?
That's a good question.
Maybe that's what he was debating. You know, he knows he's not playing against a deck like Rook Delver. So
no, Reid's going to go down to 5 cards. This is huge for Jim, especially in game 1. This is the game before he gets access to Pyrokinesis.
Yeah, if there was a game that Jim needed a little help on, it's probably game 1.
Yeah.
Because like we said, being on the draw against a deck like Elves, I actually think Elves is probably a little bit favored game 1, particularly if they're on the play. So let's see if Reid can muster any kind of offense with only 5 cards.
It's important for so many reasons, too, that Jim wins game 1, because game 3 being on the play turns Lackey back on.
Yeah.
The Lackey Incinerator draw, the Lackey Pyrokinesis, your guy, get through, maybe put Sharpshooter in, that's it. Stuff like that. Being on the play for game 3, looking to the future, is huge for him, but winning game 1 helps him get to that point.
Yeah, you're basically breaking serve. You know? So, but again, Reid's deck, because he has Glimpse and a card like Gaia's Cradle, he can actually draw out of these kind of mulligans, depending on if he's able to get a little fortunate here and get the right combination of cards. So let's see if he's comfortable keeping these 5.
All it takes is 1 Deathrite Shaman to kind of whammy Jim. See Reid taking a long look, boy.
Yeah, the worst thing here is basically just turn 1. Yeah, I mean if he doesn't have a 1-drop, that's probably the worst case scenario for him.
And what's interesting now is because Reid's taking lower than a 5, Jim can certainly reason with himself of playing a Lackey on turn 1 and just trading with whatever Reid has.
Yeah.
Where you wouldn't want to do that when Reid has 7 cards, you might be incentivized to want to do it when he has 5.
Yeah, could this be basically like a natural order Glimpse land hand?
Yeah,
what could he be thinking here?
Yeah, that
no
one's a real
lands? I don't know. It doesn't look like it's a no land hand because that's an auto ship, but
yeah.
What could Reid be pondering here? That's the thing. I think this might be the thing where he might not just have a 1-drop. He might have like an Elvish Visionary, but is that good enough against Lackey potentially? So it looks like we have a Windswept Thief, and he just, okay. Windswept Thief go. Windswept Thief can get a Dryad Arbor, so that is a potential blocker for Goblin Lackey.
Looks like Jim's got a lot of Goblin Lackeys. I think he's got 3 Lackeys and a Vial in his hand. He's going to start with Scalding Tarn. Going to go to 19. We'll see what land he wants to search up. It's going to be Basic Mountain, which is our snow-covered, or if he wants to get a Tiger or a Plateau. But he's just going to go with a snow-covered mountain, and I'm very interested to see how he wants to lead off this game. If he wants to go to Vial, because I like getting Vial established early, because as it puts a lot of pressure on. But he wants to go with Lackey and make Reid have it.
Yeah, because Reid didn't have a 1-drop, I kind of like the Lackey play here, because if Reid does go for a Dryad Arbor and he chooses to block the Lackey, I think Jim is okay with that, because 1, he has other Lackeys in his hand, and 2, he's actually like LDing Reid there. So yeah, I kind of like leading with the Lackey here. And Jim also has a Rashad Import in his hand, so you don't typically think of Mana Denial being effective against Elves, but given that Reid mulliganed to 5 and now he has to go for a Dryad Arbor, this could be actually a great turn for Jim.
It certainly can.
He could actually tap down the Dryad Arbor and get that Goblin Lackey in. So let's see if Reid has a follow-up.
Nettle Sentinel? The brick wall.
Wow, so really, really good situation here for Reid. Reid has a Nettle Sentinel, which can block, keep the Goblin Lackey at bay, and he also has a Windswept Teeth that he can actually search for another Dryad Arbor on the off chance that Jim has some way to answer the Nettle Sentinel.
See, for me, and it's interesting because I think Jim has Siege Gang in his hands, so that may have incentivized his decision. For me, I really, really just like getting Vile set up because over the course of the game, it just gets so good. But the longer you wait to get it set up, the worse it is. And I mean,
Yeah.
you know the feeling of drawing Aether Vile on like turn 6 or turn 7. It's not a very good one. You've got Vile coming in now, and had it. It's obviously Nettle Sentinel makes it look bad that he led with Lackey.
Yeah.
So it makes you, hindsight, etc., where you're going to see Reid to sacrifice the Windswept Teeth here. But I'm just really a big fan of just getting Vile set up from the start, unless I'm in a matchup where I know that Lackey's going to get through for sure.
Yeah, I think it's worth the risk, just given the way his hand shaped up. But I agree with you. Obviously, getting Aether Vial set up is huge. But I think the fact that Reid didn't have a one drop means that Jim can afford to miss a turn with the Aether Vial trigger and sort of try to set up a little longer game. When I say longer game, I mean one extra turn. So this could be turn 6 or turn 5 instead of turn 4,
Yep.
where he starts to explode onto the board. So, but again, Reid not having a one drop, I think it gives him a little more of an out there. Plus, he had the Rashad import, so.
All right, so Duke is going to draw his cards. He's got 2 Dryad Arbors and a Nettle Sentinel in play. Those lands are risky.
Yeah, this is where Jim really wishes he had those pyrokinesis.
yeah. Dream scenario, that's for sure. Here's a
Oh,
forest
wow.
and pass a turn by.
So Reid just has a forest and pass. So this seems like the opening hand was probably just like glimpse, land. Maybe not even a Nettle Sentinel, or maybe he did have Nettle Sentinel.
Reid's got to hope that no Gem Palm Incinerator has showed up here for Davis. Davis drew a Ringleader for the turn. He's got a Mogwar Marshal, another Lackey, a Siege Gang Commander, and I believe another Vial in his hand right now. So those are his cards.
So I like just passing here, tapping down with the Dryad Arbors on the upkeep, getting another Lackey into play, and then on your turn, I think you can actually swing
force
through,
through a hit,
get
yeah.
that Siege Gang into play,
Yep.
and then kill the Nettle Sentinel.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. We'll see what Jim comes to here.
Yeah, not really worth casting the Mogwar Marshal here.
Nah,
not really getting any value out of it.
Very low impact card is the Mogwar Marshal.
So let's see here. Yeah, because if he so he's getting the Oracle Reader and Crater Hut Behemoth.
Yeah, he's getting it when we can.
I think he basically wants to know, does it have trample?
Yep.
That's probably what he asked.
Yeah, we can
or
bring
does
it
it
up.
just have trample when it comes into play?
Gotcha. And there it is. It only trample when the effect happens.
Makes it a lot easier if he doesn't have trample for life.
Yeah, no kidding. Why wouldn't that thing have trample? Look at it. Why? It just
I know.
gets blocked by a squirrel token. Oh, I can't get through.
It does
That
seem
doesn't
like
make any sense.
it seems like a mistake that it doesn't have trample. For
Where's the
life.
flavor judge? Get Ben Stark out here.
Look at how giant it is. It is literally stomping through the woods. You're telling me that creature doesn't have trample forever?
Blocked by goat.
Oh, yep. You can block it with my 1/0 elemental.
All right, so let's see what Reid's going to do. You see Davis does tap the Dryad Arbor with Rashad and Port on the upkeep here. So Reid's working with at least 2 mana this turn. We'll see if it's going to be 3. Is he going to tap some mana here? Looks like an Elvish Visionary time. Draw a card.
So yes, unless Reid has another land and another creature, it looks like those one of those Goblin Lackeys will get through.
Yeah, so it looks like, as you mentioned, a Lackey is going to get through, and I think a Visionary has to trade with a Lackey too.
Yeah.
You can't, because sometimes I've seen, and this play can be correct, of course. You see,
Gaia's Cradle was the one card I was scared.
Yeah, no kidding. He's gonna pass the turn back.
Is he passing the turn back?
Yeah.
Oh wow. So Gaia's Cradle, woo, can tap for 4 mana. You could have just seen a natural order there for Great Oak Behemoth, but he did not have it.
One thing that happens sometimes, I was going to say, is some people take the Lackey challenge and just they put the Lackey through and hope you don't have anything. And it can work out. This is a situation where it will not, but it can work out. Sometimes you're just left to that decision.
Yeah, so this could be really good for Jim here. He attacks with everything. One of the Lackeys is going to get through. He's able to put the Siege Gang into play, and then he can actually activate Aether Vial to put the Mogwar Marshal into play and sack the Mogwar Marshal to deal 2 damage to the Nettle Sentinel.
All aboard. Lackey's coming in. The question here, too, is, does he want to take care of the Nettle Sentinel, or does he want to take care of Dryad Arbor? Cut that mana, slows down the old Cradle.
The thing is, The Crater, the Cradle's going to tap for 2 no matter what, though. Because double dry arbor.
Duke is going to take the lackey challenge. See, this is what I was wondering, if he's going to let 2 lackeys through or just 1 lackey through. He's going to let 2 through because of the Cradle.
And that's great now because Ringleader and Siege Gang Commander are going to come down. And,
You're gonna. I think he starts with Ringleader.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because he's going to get 2 triggers. I feel like the start is with Ringleader.
Oh yeah, because you could get Sharpshooter, Matron, War Leader. That was definitely one of the cards you needed.
So he hits there 4 for 4. Goblin Pile Driver, Gem Helm Incinerator. He's got a Goblin War Chief, and there was one more other card that's off the screen right now. You're going to see Reid write them down. But this is a 4 for 4, a touchdown, as it were, for the Goblin Ringleader. And the last card was a 10th Street Hooligan.
So yeah, pretty good there. Now he has the second trigger. Looks like Siege Gang will come down though.
I still think Siege Gang is correct in this situation.
So let's see. Jim's trying to figure out, how do I survive a Crater Hoof attack?
Yeah, I think the question that Jim's asking us right now is, how do I make sure I don't lose this game? I'm in such a good position right now. And, you know, am I going to put Siege Gang into play? If the answer is yes, what am I going to do with Siege Gang? Am I going to activate to take care of a land? Or would I rather just tap the Cradle with the port? There's Siege Gang. 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, at this point, I think you have to tap Cradle with the port, maybe. Because if you tap the Cradle with the port, you keep him off of 4 mana potentially. Even if he does have another land, as long as it's not another Cradle, because of new Legend rule, he will be able to tap it for mana. As long as it's not another, he taps 4 mana, sacks a Dried Arbor, gets a Behemoth, everything gets +4, so that would be 12, 13, 14, 15, 20, but I think he has enough blockers to survive that. So yeah, I think tapping the Gaia's Cradle is a reasonable way to protect yourself against a top deck natural order. And you'd imagine it have to be a top deck because I don't think Reid actually has. He would have used it last turn. I
feel like he may have used it last turn if he did have it. Let's see, Davis.
Because Jim just wouldn't have had enough blockers to soak up all that trample damage. So let's see what Jim decides to do here. You might see just an Aether Vial.
Just a vial. Yep. So that's what it's going to be. I'm really interested to see what he's going to do with that 2 mana. Is he going to port? If he is, what's he going to port? Is he going to use Siege Gang? If he does, what's he going to Siege Gang?
Yeah, so it looks like he is going to port. And yeah, I like this play a lot. He did the math. He knows as long as it's not, you know, Cradle natural order, which seems like it would have to be, it seems like it's probably unlikely, but it would have to be Cradle natural order probably for Jim to lose this turn, I believe. So let's see what Reid can do. It's also unlikely that Reid actually has natural order in his hand.
Yeah.
He would have to probably draw up this turn.
You see, the thing about this matchup that I was going to bring up when we were discussing it is it feels like you're walking on eggshells the entire time if you're Goblins. Look at the position Jim's in.
Yeah.
And he's just thinking to himself, I could die.
Yeah,
what could happen?
Reid mulliganed to 5, and Jim was able to go turn 1 Lackey, turn 2 Lackey Vial, and even get a Siege Gang into play, and he's still walking on eggshells. Like, it's still that nerve-wracking.
Absolutely insane.
This is... I would love it to see if this is just posturing by Reid, he's just doing all the math, and he actually goes Gaia's Cradle natural order. Because that, I believe, is lethal. Because Gaia's Cradle, the second Gaia's Cradle, he can actually just tap that and sacrifice the Dried Arbor.
Yeah.
And then he'll have 3 attackers. Having a total of 4 attackers is really the difference here.
Yep.
If he's forced to just play a land in natural order, he doesn't have enough attackers, I believe, to be lethal.
Boy, this is kind of just...
Oh, he does have
God,
it. What can we do here? Does he have another creature even?
Unreal!
So look, if he has another creature, let's see how much... He's trying to add up all the damage. That's the thing. I'm not even sure. Because Jim does have a lot of blockers, so he might be able to soak up a lot of it.
Oh, so okay, so he's going to sacrifice here. He's going to sacrifice the Elvish Visionary. He's going to go... Oh
he did have it. Wow, he had
so
both of it.
Insane!
I wonder if he drew the natural order or if he had it last turn.
So this means that he was supposed to not tap the Cradle and kill a creature with the Siege Gang? There's the Behemoth?
basically, yeah, I think it comes down to whether or not you put him on a second cradle.
Oh my god, everybody's coming in the red zone. So
Let's see if it's enough, though. That's the thing. Every creature gets +4/+4.
So it's going to be 5, 10, 10 plus 2. Okay, so every creature gets +4/+4.
He needs to soak up 8 points of damage.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and if he activates it, 8, 9.
He's got War Marshal in stand too.
He's got war. Yeah, he has to activate the Aether Vial and play a War Marshal, War Marshal. So, yeah, I think he's actually okay. I think he might survive. He'll go to 1, but I think he actually has enough damage because +4 to everything is 16 because of 4 attackers. 16 plus 5 for the Behemoths is 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So he's attacking for 25. If he soaks up 8, he takes 17, drops to 1, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the War Marshal would be a token plus the War Marshal itself. That is 9. So that is 9 damage that he can soak up, I believe.
So we're gonna go 2. There's your token. 2.
Those Cedric Phillip tokens are doing work.
Yeah, I'm getting flattened by
They
a
are-
bus. Yeah, are you kidding?
Hey, you're getting flattened by a bus, but there is going to be one of you left over because of the War Marshal.
It's all for the cause.
And you still got those you guys still got those 2 lackeys in play, and thank God that ringleader hit 4 for 4.
Yeah, no
That
kidding.
makes a huge difference.
The other thing that we're not even keeping into account is that Jim might be able to kill him on the swing back.
Oh well,
He has a War Chief and
that's
a
right.
Pile Driver
He
in
has
his hand.
War Chief and Pile Driver. Yeah, that's right.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He needs to make sure he does his math
1,
right.
2, 3. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think he would take 18 trample. I believe. Let's do the math.
All right, so we've got 2 5/5 Dryad Arbors. We have a Behemoth that is a 9/9, and you've got Nettle Sentinel, which is a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So 10 plus 9 is 19 plus 6 is 25. 25 damage is attacking. 25 minus 18 is 7, so he's got to soak up 8, as you said. And then you look at the defense that Jim has in play.
Let's hope he blocks correctly. Right now, it looks like that Siege Gang is not blocking.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me too. And if that's the case, assuming that our life totals are correct, this could get ugly in a big way. It looks like he's setting everything up right. But right now, he's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Siege Gang's got to join the club. As long as our life totals are correct. Oh boy.
1, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like 7. Yeah.
Okay, Siege Gang coming in.
Yeah, it looks like he doesn't have to block with all the tokens. So yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's your 8. Now you just got to spread the blockers around. Of course,
Yeah.
can't team block on everything. And you see, yep, that's exactly what he's going to do. The smart thing here too is he's going to make sure that he kills some things with the way that he's blocking.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think he actually kills Reid on. If he survives this turn, I think he kills him on the swing back because he upticks Aether Vial,
Up to 3.
brings it to 3, puts that War Chief into play. Then he goes Pile Driver, other creature, and he's attacking for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, exactly 16 at least. And if Reid had a follow-up creature, like another 1-drop, he would have cast it before the Behemoth.
For the
came into
Behemoth,
play.
yeah. So he shouldn't have a follow-up.
He shouldn't have a follow-up.
The smart thing here too is that Jim is making sure he blocks Nettle Sentinel in case he has a follow-up because Nettle Sentinel would untap.
Yeah, in case he has even if it glimpse,
yeah.
a glimpse could untap the Nettle Sentinel. So a smart play here from Jim. He's dumping everything in front of Nettle Sentinel to make sure it dies so that he can kill Reid on the swing back.
So Reid is going to, obviously spread the damage. He's going to do 2 of the Siege Gang, 2 of the Ringleader, 1 and 1. And then, the things are going to trample over here. But as you mentioned, Jim should end this turn at 1 life.
Yeah, very, very smart play here from Jim because obviously you figure if Reid did have another creature, he plays it before the Behemoth comes into play, so he guarantees kills Jim this turn. But Jim realized one card he could have is a Glimpse of the Nature. So if he does have a Glimpse of Nature, he's able to untap that Nettle Sentinel and still have a blocker for that Goblin Pile Driver.
All right, stuff going down.
So, yep, it looks like Jim is going to survive. He is left with, I believe, did the War Marshal die or no?
Doesn't look like it.
So, yeah, it did die.
Yeah.
He gets a token.
Up to 3, up to 1. He's moving quick now. I think he knows he's got him.
Yeah. Wow.
This game's insane. This is a mulligan of 5. Are you kidding me?
So, we
Siege
have
Gang
another
number
Siege
2.
Gang commander. Not really going to matter. he can just doing all the math in his head here.
The War Chief.
So he has to get that War Chief into play first,
Yep.
so everything costs cheaper. So here's the War Chief. Now Pile Driver only costs 1 red.
You see him adding up damage. How about P. Diddy?
Yep, he can
There
also
he is.
cast the 10th Street Hooligan if he chooses, but it looks like he's not going to.
So you see Goblin Powder is going to get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Correct? 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So, okay, it's going to get plus 10. So 11 for the Pile Driver alone, 12, 13 for the War Chief, 15, 16, 17,
Yep.
18. See
exactly
ya.
16.
Yep, that is it. So Jim Davis is going to win
At 1
a
life.
very close game number 1. You see Reid smiling. I almost got it. I almost stole that one.
Reid
buddy.
Duke on a mulligan to 5 almost stole that game. Wow, so close. And we were talking about it too. We're like, well, Jim Davis is probably going to take the line to, tap a cradle, because if he really just has, he really probably needs, the only way Reid can realistically win this game if he has a cradle and natural order. And he probably has to top deck one of them, because if he had natural order, he would have used it last time. So, sure enough, Reid did actually have that sequence of cards, and Jim took the same line that we would have taken.
Yeah.
I think he kind of thought it through, and he's like, oh, it's unlikely that he has natural order, and even if he top decks it, he still probably needs a Gaia's Cradle in order to be close to killing me. But either way, it didn't matter. Reid was 1 point off from actually being able to do lethal.
One creature off.
One creature off, yeah.
That's what he took. We're going to bring back to the booth here, my friends. We're going to come back to this match in just a minute. Trust me. We'll be back there in just a second, but we got to give you guys away 6 months of premium. So very simple. OSIP's going to ask you guys a question, and we're going to ask you to hashtag your answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium on Twitter. And again, we are going to announce the winner of this at the conclusion of our semifinals. We're going to select one winner of the group of people who do get it correct. So it is about accuracy, not speed. The question. Do it up.
The question for 6 months,
6 months
of Star City Games Premium. In Reid Duke's list of elves, he has 4 copies of a legendary land that are very good, in particular in elves.
Yeah.
And actually almost helped him to possibly almost win that last game that we just saw. So what is the name of the legendary land that is in Reid Duke's elf list?
4 of them.
4 copies.
You can name that card. Hashtag your answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium. And again, we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal match. We'll select one winner from the people who do get it correct. So it is about accuracy, not speed. So take your time, as we're going to take a look at the sideboards here. And we are going to start with Reid, who is looking at Jim Davis's deck list right now. And as he's doing that, he's noticing that there are some pyrokinesis that are coming in over there. Can he do anything about them? That's the question.
Well, he can't really do anything against pyrokinesis. I mean, he has 4 copies of Thoughtseize. Maybe he wants to bring those in. He also has Cabal Therapy. Against a deck like Jim's, I mean, I actually don't think it's unreasonable, because if you're able to get cards like Gem Palm Incinerator or really Goblin Ringleader out of the hand, I actually think it's a reasonable card to bring in. Just because Jim's going to be boarding in cards like Pyrokinesis, maybe you want to just take him out and go for the Progenitus plan. So I kind of like just going for the natural order Progenitus plan against a deck like Jim's, because Jim really doesn't have an answer to Progenitus, like most decks don't really.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, if I was Reid, I think going for the Thoughtseize, Cabal Therapy probably not needed. Obviously, you can randomly get lucky, but I think Thoughtseize Progenitus Natural Order is probably a reasonable line for Reid to take. He does have 2 copies of Abrupt Decay that he can also bring in to sort of make sure he doesn't get into a Sharpshooter lock.
Yeah.
But in general, I think his best game plan is just try to win by getting a Natural Order on Progenitus. Obviously, Craterhood Behemoth is another thing that he can natural order, but when your opponent's bringing in cards like Pyrokinesis and he already has cards like Sharpshooter, I think it's probably difficult to kind of win with that Behemoth. And even we saw it in that first game. Jim was able to just amass too many tokens, so Reid wasn't even
So
lethal.
close.
So
So close.
Yeah, I think Reid just being able to go like turn 3 Progenitus, I think that's a safe line to take. And if I was him, I would probably go for that.
Well, we've already brought this up ad nauseum here, but Jim Davis, 3 Pyrokinesis, those are a lock to come on in. The rest of the cards, I don't think you're going to see a lot of these. 3 Elemental Blasts, certainly not. 3 Thalia Guardian Thraben. Well, Reid's deck uses creatures to go off, so not going to need that one. Then you got the 3 Mindbreak Traps, which again, I think you have to get so lucky to actually have that do something. I don't think he needs to go through that extreme to sideboard. And 3 Progenitus, Reset doesn't really use the graveyard. So I think we're going to see 3 Pyrokinesis. Those are going to come in. I think it's very easy to board out 2 Tin Street Hooligans. I think that's an easy first step. And then you can kind of just pick a card, really. 1 Goblin Pile Driver. How about you slide that to the bench, you shuffle up and you deal. I think that's how it goes here for Jim Davis in the Goblin deck. Quick update for you guys in the other match as well. Brian Braun to win. He is down a game with Sneak and Show against Sean Tappan playing Reanimator. And if this is going to go how you think it's going to go, I think we believe that Tappan is going to win. And it's going to be very difficult for Ron to win to actually win this matchup. So Tappan currently up 1.
And, this is kind of one of those things where, Tappan, because he's playing a graveyard deck that, can go off really quickly, he might have a clear path to a victory here, because I don't think either of these decks is really well equipped to deal with a deck like Reanimator.
No.
So we'll see if Tappan can actually defeat Brian Brandewine and go on to the finals. Then I think regardless of who wins this one, I think he's got to be pretty happy.
Yeah, it gets paired against a tribal deck where Elish Norn is the bee's knees against both of them. So yeah, I think he'd be pleased if he got to play against either one of these decks.
Oh, you have an Elish Norn in your deck, eh?
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, so that's a wrap then. All right.
Goblin Lackey, Elish Norn, best friends since 2006.
All right, both players going to finish shuffling up. You see Jim taking a look at his hand. I think Reid might be taking a mulligan right away.
Oh wow! So Reid forced a mulligan again. Jim, again, taking his time, and looks like, yes, he is going to mulligan, so things are going to be evened up a little bit here.
So both are going to go down to at least 6 cards. And Jim, interesting enough, he can kind of aggressively mulligan here. 1, he's on the draw, but 2, it's worth finding Pyrokinesis because it is so hard for Elves to be able to beat a Pyrokinesis. I don't think he's going to aggressively mulligan like he would, for like a Leyline of the Void against Dredge or anything like that. But, if your first hand is kind of mediocre, ship it back.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to aggressively mulligan. I'm with you, but like I think there are certain hands that he just knows are out of his range for this particular matchup, and he just can't afford to do it.
So Reid at the ready, and Davis at the ready as well. 2 Star City Games writers battling it out. Wouldn't be surprised to see either one of these guys write a report about this tournament. They look like they're having a lot of fun. Deep runs here in Philadelphia for each of them.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping. I love reading either of these players' articles, so I'm really hoping that both of them write something about this because, 1, it's a deep run, and 2, they're playing decks that I actually like. I like both these decks.
Me too.
Tribal decks are always fun.
Neither of my violence. Love it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about Force of Will actually getting them for your deck.
Yeah. Reid staring intently at his hand. Jim waiting for him. BBD takes game number 2. They're on to game number 3. Feels like a fast one there between Brondwin and Tappan. Boy, oh boy. Who gets Gristlebrand first?
So Reid Duke examining his hand. He is going to keep. Jim Davis now is going to look at his hand, see if he's going to keep his 6. He's got some lands there. Looks like he's got an Aether Vial too. Is it enough to interact with Reid's deck though?
Quick update. Grafdigger's Cage came in from Brondwin's sideboard. He was able to find one, cast it, then a sneak attack. Not show and tell, obviously. And that's lights out. That's how Brondwin wins game number 2. You see Davis analyzing his hand. He's not quite sure yet. You see that Duke is at the ready. Davis, a deliberate player, wants to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes, wants to get through this match.
He's deep in the tank here.
He's going to drill his way out the bottom.
And no.
Looks like he's
just going to mulligan.
Boy, looks like he wants to mulligan.
Yeah, he's not happy.
He's got a Vile 2 War
I think
Chiefs.
it's just not. I think he just thinks it's too non-interactive.
Yeah. His hand looked like it was Vile 2 War Chiefs lands, and that's not going to cut it.
Yeah, that is not going to cut it.
You could, yes, he could run off perfect cards or what have you, but I'd rather just throw it back, go to 5, I'm on the draw, kind of undo that card disadvantage, and again, if he finds a Pyrokinesis and a red card, you can really just keep up.
Yep.
And the Ringleader will catch him up too if he's able to get there as well. So
Jim Davis in the back where Reid Duke was a game ago, mulliganing to 5.
Reid put up one hell of a fight.
Let's see if Jim can put up as noble a fight as Reid did in the previous game.
Kidding. What a great first game.
And if anyone could do it, Jim Davis doesn't need that many cards to. It basically needs, probably Aether Vial into Matron, into Sharpshooter, into War Chief, and maybe a Pyrokinesis turned it around there somewhere to kind of slow Reid down a little bit.
I love the discipline of the mulligan. I mean, I think a lot of people keep that hand there. Oh, boy.
Oof, looks like a one-lander with the siege game coming in there. Jeez.
Oh, boy.
He does have multiple gem palms, but he does have a one-drop to turn him on turn 2.
Yeah, and he's just kind of using his cyclers, it looks like. You see Jim taking a good hard look at this one. This one's even more difficult. I think when it lands a fetch land, I think he's got, as you said, a couple of incinerators over there, a siege gang and a mystery card. He is not thrilled at all with this. Is he going to go down to 4 cards?
At this rate, the other match might be done before Jim's done resolving his mulligans. Yeah. the speed at which Reanimator shows that.
I think his other card might be a sharpshooter too, so that might be
wow.
super appealing.
On the draw, if I get a second land and I can cycle to get to third and to get a sharpshooter, can I pull it out on the draw, or is Reid just going to kill me on turn 4? I mean, Elves can easily win on turn 4.
Yeah,
I mean,
with the greatest of ease.
Yeah, so Jim ships it back, and he's going to 4 cards here. Wow, quite unfortunate for Jim. Has to go to 4 cards. At this point, you wonder what combination of cards is he going to need here.
3-land shooter.
3
game.
3 lands. Okay, 3 lands shooter.
That's not actually game, but
you,
it's a decent start.
You draw Pyrokinesis. You
All right.
play your land. You draw a random red card. Pitch it to Pyrokinesis. Turn 3 sharpshooter. I like it. Yeah. Perfectly reasonable. Let's see if that happens.
I mean, the thing that's important here is that there's actually a series of cards he can draw to win on a mulligan of 4. You know, like that's the nice thing for Jim. Like, you know, he's mulliganing. It's unfortunate, that stuff. But there is a series of cards that he can draw on a mulligan of 4 that you just mentioned where he can win the game.
Yeah, I hope it's 3-land sharpshooter so things are interesting. Let's see it.
2, 3. He's got a Mountain of Port.
All right,
that's Scalding Tarn. That's 3 lands.
It's 3 lands. I don't think it's a sharpshooter though. It might be a siege gang, unfortunately. But hey, it doesn't matter. He doesn't need the sharpshooter now.
Yeah,
he needs it on turn 3.
Yeah.
So, as long as there's a sharpshooter and a Pyrokinesis on the top, within the top 3 cards of his deck, I think he's okay.
We're underway. Duke gonna get a Verdant Catacombs. Sacrifice that, go to 19, Forest, and a Zenith for the Dryad Arbor.
So a little ramp here, and you know, he could be in good position for that turn 3 Progenitus.
Yep. And that is lights out. Gem Palm Incinerator to start.
So yeah, it looks like it is 3 lands, Gem Palm Incinerator, and Siege Gang Commander. So Jim does have a Rashad and Port, so he has a way to kind of interact with Reid in the early game. But again, Rashad and Port not the best card against Elves.
Certainly not.
But you know, at least it gives Jim something to do on turn 2, as opposed to just cycling that Gem Palm Incinerator. Gives him options.
So Reid, do that mana acceleration, the Green Sun Zenith, getting the Dryad Arbor. We'll see what his turn 2 is going to look like here.
And let's not forget, Reid did go to 6, so it's you know, there's a chance that Reid's hand isn't necessarily stellar either.
Yep. Okay. Interesting. Glimpse of Nature. So we're looking at cantrip here. Hiya! Nettle Sentinel.
And you get at least 1 card here. Does he have a land and another creature to cast, or is this going to be a pass back? Looks like he might have another spell. He's thinking about it. Yep, it's going to be Windswept Heath.
Okay.
Search for another land here.
Yeah, see what land he wants to search up. Is it going to be the Bayou? It is.
Yeah, so he's getting a Bayou here. And, let's see, Bayou. Does he have another drop? Does he have a Thoughtseize? Did he bring in Thoughteize here?
Yeah, not sure if he's sideboarding the discard in.
And, yep, there's a Heritage Druid, so just another card. So, pretty good turn for Reid. He gets both Nettle Sentinel. He's got basically the combo Nettle Sentinel, Heritage Druid in play. Doesn't have a third elf here, but he drew 2 cards off both of them, so good chance he's going to be able to generate plenty of mana next turn. So Rashad and Port is effectively irrelevant now.
You see Davis immediately search out the plateau. That's very telling to me. He could have searched out a basic mountain here, like he did in game 1, but he immediately searched out the plateau, which leads me to believe that he boarded in Thalia. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Making those natural orders cost 5 mana. Making Zenith costs more mana. Draw a card. It's a Goblin Matron.
Yeah, so Jim's hand's just a little too slow here. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to interact that much. But again, Reid.
It's time to port. Take care of the Bayou.
Reid could potentially, like, just let's see what Reid has. It looks like he has another Glimpse. So Let's see how much he's going to be able to draw this turn. Does he have enough creatures to start going off? Yep, are we going to see a glimpse here? Looks like it.
All right.
So the second glimpse gets cast, and now Reid has plenty of mana to work with. If this is an elf, it is.
It's a really good elf.
Yeah, quite the good elf too. So Kieran Ranger comes down, nets Reid 1 card. Unfortunately, it is not wired with Symbiote, so he won't be able to return an elf to his hand. And it looks like, did he just attack? Or no, he generated. Okay.
He's generating that. No, he's
I saw both players go to the pads. I was afraid they were actually marking life total. So yeah, 3 mana gets generated with the Heritage Druid ability, and Deathrite Shaman comes down and nets Reid yet another card. He still has 2 green mana in his mana pool. Is he land flooding out here, or does he have another creature to play?
That's a good question.
Yeah, this is...
He doesn't look thrilled, body language-wise.
Wow, so we're just going to get attack here. So Jim Davis, very fortunate here. If Reid is just flooding out here, there's a Dryad Arbor.
If Jim runs into a Pyrokinesis here, we're looking at a wildly different game.
Yeah, Pyrokinesis. I mean, Pyrokinesis would be great because he also has the Matron, so he can go Matron, search for Sharpshooter, Pyrokinesis your squad, or not your squad, but
yeah, I mean,
at least a
big chunk.
A Dryad Arbor, Kieran Ranger, and a. Actually, probably doesn't go after.
I let him keep.
I think you just go after. Probably just go after.
Nettle Heritage Queering.
I kind of like Deathrite Shaman. I kind of like Deathrite Shaman Heritage Druid. Keep him off mana a little bit. Yeah, so he doesn't have the Pyrokinesis. Does have a Goblin Matron though. Is it going to be enough? Because Goblin Sharpshooter does not have haste, so it's not going to get online for at least 2 more turns. Can you really afford to give Reid 2 more turns with what he has in play?
So basically, you know, we are aware that Reid did not find more creatures to actually put into play, but that doesn't mean that he's bricked entirely.
Oh no,
that means there could be a natural order of Zenith hanging out. So
exactly,
it's not over. Here's a Matron. He's got to go search, and does Davis. I'm interested to see what he's going to search for here.
Matron also kind of turns on his Gem Pump Incinerator.
Yeah.
So he can actually deal with the Heritage Druid. And Reid doesn't have a wire with Symbiote. It's that Kieran Ranger, it forces you to return a forest to untap a creature. So he can actually save it. So let's see what Jim chooses to do here.
Going to consult the hand, take a look at the port, take a look at the Incinerator and the Siege Gang Commander, trying to figure out how can I extend this game. Ooh, bringing Skirk Prospector to the front.
I like that.
Interessant.
I like that because you know, we were thinking, is Sharpshooter just fast enough? I think
So
it's just too slow.
yeah.
Sharpshooter at least gives him options to do things next turn. He can play the Prospector. He can cycle Gem Pump Incinerator. He'll net a card. He can untap. He can get that Sieging Commander into play.
Start firing away.
Yeah, I like that. It's not a bad option for him. It's a pretty good one-up to have in your deck.
It is a delight.
Very good option.
Prospector.
Every once in a while, you want to be able to generate a lot of mana.
See, I'm really trying to figure out. He's got that Prospector still at the front of his deck. Really trying to figure out if that's what he wants to take.
And let's not forget, this is off of a mulligan to 4 here.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Jim Davis did win Game 3 against Storm off a mulligan to 4.
Yeah.
So maybe this is right in his wheelhouse. Certainly knows how to overcome odds, and that's exactly what he does. He gets the Skirk Prospector, and I like this play. I think getting a Sharpshooter is just too slow.
Yeah, I feel like it's a hoping thing where Reid. I sure hope you just brick a bunch.
That's
what I feel with Sharpshooter.
Clearly, Jim has to get lucky, or he has to hope Reid bricks. But I think he's doing everything he can to kind of put himself in a position to win.
I agree with you.
So let's see. Reid is going to untap here. What are the last 2 cards in his hand, though? Obviously, they're probably not creatures.
If it's a natural
or at least
order,
creatures he could have cast last turn, because he had access to 2 mana. I think he had access to 3 mana, so if it's a natural order, that's great.
Yeah, if it's natural order, it's
game
basically
over.
a game, yeah. Assuming that Reid's hand isn't like natural order, behemoth or something like that, you know. But I think if it's natural order, I think we would have seen Reid cast it.
If it's natural order behemoth, I think he could actually cast it. I think he'd actually cast the behemoth.
Yeah, he could actually cast behemoth. You're right about that. So if he has behemoth and grip, it's actually still doing just fine. But Can't quite make out the cards that is hanging out in the Duke's hand. Be interesting to see. You know he's going to go in the tank and come out with the best possible play. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, so, wow, Reid Duke casting not one but two Glimpse of Natures over the course of 2 turns and was not able to draw enough creatures to sort of continue cycling through his deck. You have to imagine at least one of those is a land.
Yeah.
So, doesn't look like there's a heritage.
We're going red zoning.
Does he even have... No, it looks like he's probably
Maybe mana?
3 mana,
Maybe
yeah.
mana, okay.
Generating 3 mana, so he's got something to do here. Greenstone Zenith, perhaps?
Your guess is as good as mine, man. 3 mana.
He's access to... He could do 7 mana.
4.
Return a forest, untap a creature, untap the Deathrite Shaman, get another mana.
That's an Aquarian Ranger here. So he adds a green, so he's got 4 green mana floating. He's going to untap with Aquarian Ranger, return a forest. Hasn't played a land yet for the turn. Play the forest. Yep, so bunch of mana. Behemoth. Yep.
Behemoth, there it is.
Untap the Nettle Sentinel, trigger, jeez. That's it. That's
That
so
is
much
more
damage.
than enough, yeah. 1,
So-
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is 21, 26, 28, 29 damage.
Yeah, that's it. All right, Reid Duke is going to tie this matchup up against Jim Davis. Elves versus Goblins. It's a tribal affair. They're going to go to a third and final. You see Jim immediately reaches for a sideboard. Interesting. He's going to shuffle it in. He might. Yeah, it's
Big
funny.
sigh of relief for Reid there.
Yeah. Yeah. Jim immediately shuffles in his sideboard. Doesn't want to give away any information, which is a play that everyone should make, but not everyone does. Just shuffling and everything. You see him pulling Relic to the front, like, that's not staying in, and all this stuff like that. Get that other Relic out of here. But he's trying to conceal as much information as he can. Thalia coming out. Maybe he searched for that plateau to bluff, like, I got Thalia I'm going to play. Yeah. You know, I like it. I like it. Concealing as much information as he can.
Looks like at least one more Mog War Marshal's coming out, too.
Yeah, there's your Red Elemental Blast. Get that thing out of here. You're not playing blue cards. Bronduin and Tappan still battling out in that Reanimator versus Sneak and Show match.
I'm surprised that match is continuing to go on. I thought for sure, given the fact they're during Game 3, that would have been over like at least 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, no kidding. Those guys are battling out to the death. Big monsters coming in and out of play. Anybody's game.
So, yep, looks like Jim doesn't look like he changed up anything that he was doing for Game 2. So Jim's going to be on the play now in Game 3. And, you know, we kind of talked about this at the beginning of the match. Breaking serve is huge for both of these decks
So big. So big.
But, you know, I got to say, I don't know what we're going to see in Game 3. Hopefully both players are able to keep their 7-card hands, because it's tough to say who's really advantaged here, because in both games, the person who lost had to actually mulligan Reid to 5 and Jim to 4. And both actually were pretty close games, considering, you know, how it started. So interested to see how this plays out if both players are actually going to keep their opening 7. I think it still probably favors Jim a little bit post-board, because, you know, even in Game 2, off of mulligan to 4, there were several turns where if we were talking about if he drew a Pyrokinesis, Reid would be really in bad shape. So let's see how Jim's able to handle Game 3. It doesn't look, I don't think Thalia came in. Doesn't seem likely.
No, we saw him pull him to the front too, like he was going to port him back out again. I just don't think Thalia does very much in this matchup. And Reid's Duke generates so much, Reid's deck, generates so much mana, and all the stuff's creatures. So I just can't imagine it coming in. I think Jim is going to sideboard very minorly. Just Pyrokinesis coming in, and, you know, maybe a Mog War Marshal coming out, or what have you. 10 Street Hooligan, stuff like that. You know, I think he'll probably actually leave the pile drivers in the deck so he can actually just get the game over with.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just don't think it's worth diluting your deck for cards like Thalia.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do enough.
If you guys are just joining us, we do appreciate it. Cedric Phillips, Osip Lebedovich here. Star City Games Open Series has made its way to Philadelphia. We're almost on our way out, actually, as we are in the semifinals here. You guys can join us on Twitter as we finish up the semis and the finals before we do crown a Legacy Open Champion at SCG Live, hashtag SCGPHL for your tweets as we watch Reid Duke, the Platinum Level Pro, versus the Goblins Mastermind and Jim Davis. These guys are battling out in a tribal affair. If you look next to Reid, you can see Brian Bronduin. He's battling Sean Tappan in a Game 3 of Reanimator versus Sneak and Show. A star-studded top 8 tonight with just some insanely good matches.
Yeah, a lot of players with a lot of success, both in the Open Series and in the Pro Circuit. So, um, definitely have. It's definitely interesting to see both players kind of play this matchup because you have two tribal decks, two different, very different strategies, and both players kind of know their decks really well. So this is exactly the kind of match you want to see in the top 8.
Just high level Magic being
High
played
level
right now.
Magic, yeah. A lot of decision making.
Yes, absolutely. Davis on the play this game. We are being informed that Sean Tappan has a Gristlebrand on the battlefield against Brian Bronwyn right now. Don't know if that spells game over, but most of the time Gristlebrand does.
Yeah, it's hard to say with a matchup like that because our director could just be slow rolling us and not tell us that there's also another Gristlebrand on the other side of the battle.
What we don't
we don't really know. We have no idea.
What we don't know is that Brian has an Emrakul out on the table. Jim Davis is going to start off with a Goblin Lackey. And Reid, do you have an answer? Now, your deck is full of them.
Yeah.
But do you have a blocker? Do you have Deathrite Shaman? Do you have a fetch land for Dryad Arbor? How are you going to stop the Lackey?
So, thankfully, both players kept their opening hands. So
we're going to see a real game.
We're going to see a real game here.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Davis has his signature Goblin in play, turn 1, Goblin Lackey, exactly what he wants to do in this matchup. Reid Duke, what is he going to do? He obviously has plenty of creatures that he can play on turn 1. Is it going to be a... will Jim have a Gem Palm Incinerator actually to clear the way, or does he have a Pyrokinesis to clear the way?
That's the 1-2 step if it's Gem Palm, assuming that Reid doesn't have Deathrite Shaman, because that thing's a 1-2 for God knows what reason.
Deathrite Shaman. Actually, I actually know the reason why it's a 1-2.
Why?
And we could talk about it after this match.
Wow. Okay. Oh, Finn Hornell.
I was told by someone in development why Deathrite Shaman is a 1-2. It's actually kind of an interesting story.
All right,
it's very stupid, but
is it Incinerator? Ooh, a Matron
no.
off the top. All right, so it's not Incinerator. Davis does have a Vial. He's got a Ringleader. He's got a Wasteland. He's got plenty of stuff to do, but he can't get through that Finhorn Elf right now. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you make the trade?
Well, I think
I
think Reid is going to obviously block here. And he specifically played the worst elf in his deck in order to make that trade because he knew it was going to happen.
Now Davis is going to play this, and he's going to wasteland him. I like it. I like that play by Jim. So
yeah,
he's
certainly fine.
Going to get the Vial working now, and he's got a Pile Driver to play on the follow-up turn. I think he's got a backup. I don't think he has a backup wasteland. I take that back.
He also has a Matron though, so he has Matron to go for the Sharpshooter, and Reid because Jim's on the play. Even though that was too slow last game, I think that could be fine in this game. I don't think Reid can mount enough of an offense in order to kind of overcome that, especially with an Aether Bound play.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's like we're back at square one.
Yeah,
right?
we're basically just at square one.
This is as if Jim had played a turn 1 Aether Vial and said, "Go, here's a Dryad Arbor."
So that's more good news for Jim because that isn't another mana elf. So
what's Jim draw? Siege Gang
Siege
Commander.
Gang, so
You don't sound stoked about that.
It's not ideal, but
we're going to see a Goblin Pile Driver come into play. We'll see exactly what Cavern's naming. Likely to be Goblin, but we will get confirmation from our table spotter as Davis is going to pass the turn back to Duke. Duke's Dryad Arbor is live now, and we'll see what he's going to do on his third turn, which looks like he's going to start by adding another land to the table.
Yeah, it's just so crazy how it just might not be enough time because of the kind of velocity that Reid can generate, particularly with a card like Gaia's Cradle. I think Gaia's Cradle is really going to determine whether or not Reid can kind of unload enough creatures into play before Jim can get that Sharpshooter online.
So now here's a Heritage Druid.
And there it is.
Cradle. Oh boy, Cradle's so good.
Yeah,
Zenith
like
for
Zenith for
1.
Zenith for 1 or 0? Let's see. Probably 1 to get a Nettle Sentinel.
So, back in the day, I know you were playing during Saga. How good was Cradle then? Because it looks insane now. I know Tolarian Academy was the big card, but did Cradle really see a lot of play back then too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, before my time. Before my time.
It wasn't. You played it basically. You just jammed it. You went. Obviously, it wasn't nearly as impressive. Usually, you went turn 1 Pouncing Jaguar, turn 2 like Wild Dogs.
Okay.
River Boa. Wasn't nearly as explosive, but you know.
Yeah, if you guys don't know what those cards do at home, neither do I. I don't know any of those cards.
Yeah,
Those are all horrible.
If you were born in the '90s, there's a good chance you have to look it up on Star City Games Advanced Search tool
Yeah.
on the Star.
You know, it's actually kind of sad because I do know what all those cards do. Pouncing Jaguars, a 2/2 Echo for
I
1.
played plenty of Wild Dogs in my time. Turn 1 Wild Dogs, turn 2 Pouncing Jaguar, Gaia's Cradle, cycle the other Wild Dogs. The classic, the standard.
So Vile is going to go up to 2. Davis draws a Scalding Tarn for the turn, but you can tell he's in some trouble now. There's an active Cradle out there. He doesn't have a Porter or a Wasteland to take care of that Cradle, and that means that Duke can generate a lot of mana. Remember, Duke, 2 turns ago, no permanents.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No permanence. Now that Gaia's Cradle, it's, you know, there's a reason it's an expensive card. It's one of the better cards in the format, especially in a deck like this, you know.
Oh, yeah. And the new legendary rule is certainly in its favor as well. It's a very scary card. And this is what I was talking about a little earlier. If you're Davis, you got to a good start this game. You're lucky, didn't get through, but traded with a Finhorn off. Then you Wasteland his line, you play a Vile. You're like, all right, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Just plays a Dryad Arbor, does Duke, can pass the turn back. All of a sudden, now he's in the tank, walking on eggshells, thinking of everything that could happen next turn.
Well,
it's crazy.
The really obnoxious thing is that, you know, Reid can just have a natural order, and the game could just be over for Jim. Like, that's the thing.
So we're being told right now that BBD has been defeated by Sean Tappan, so Reanimator is going to be in the finals.
Poor BBD couldn't quite make it, but good showing nonetheless.
So now we see a pile driver coming into the red zone. And Duke is going to take it. He could double block. He could just block with Death Ratch. There's a lot of different things you do.
No reason, though. You don't want to lose a creature. You're just taking 1.
Yeah, just a point of damage.
Not going to matter.
What's the big deal? So Davis plays the Scalding Tarn. He can cast a Lackey right now if he wants to. It's up to him.
Now,
the Matron.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has a Gem Palm in his hand. I know he has a Siege Gang and a Matron. Can't make out what the
Ringleader's
last
one.
So he has a Ringleader.
Yeah, no Gem Palm.
So let's see what Jim does here. I think you have to cast the Matron here. The question is, what do you go for? Because again, this might be a situation like last game where Sharpshooter's just not fast enough.
Yeah, we could be in that spot here. You see Jim's going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn. It's Matron time. So he says, I'm going to do both these at once. Is that okay with you, Reid? Reid says, that's just fine.
So yeah, they're just saving time here. Yeah. He's getting the Mountain, and he's going to search for the Goblin in the same turn. So
he's going to go get the Plateau just like he did in Game 2. And now the tough part. What Goblin are you going to search for? Is it going to be Incinerator?
And, you know, the ironic thing here is that if he actually went turn 1 Aether Vial as opposed to turn 1 Lackey, he probably gets it into play now.
Yeah, different game. Much different game.
So, you kind of mentioned this in the first game where, you know, do you go with Lackey or do you lead with Aether Vial? You know, maybe he should have led with Vial because the odds of the Lackey hitting are so low.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of leading with Vial in this matchup. Just as you mentioned, getting through with Lackey, you actually have to hit him with the 1-2 punch of Lackey into Incinerator. That's the way that you get through.
Yeah, it's a tough play, but, you know, basically what happens is Reid goes Finhorn Elf go, you go Lackey Wasteland. So it's the exact same situation, but Reid is left with the Finhorn in play, except your Aether Vial is ticking up.
Yep.
So
you're creating pressure. You're creating pressure that way. So now Jim's going to get Goblin War Chief, and he's going to pass the turn back after Reid finishes shuffling his deck. So Reid's going to untap with a whole bunch of mana on his 4th turn.
So he's access to 1, 2, 3, 4. If he has another elf, suddenly it jumps to like 8.
Yeah. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying, the things that are possible this turn.
We just cast the Crater of Behemoth. Looks like he does have another mana. He has a Windswept Heath here.
And he is crafting, and it's never fun to be sitting across from that and watching that mind work. Here's Windswept Heath to start. Duke going to go down to 17.
Jim basically has to dodge a natural order this turn, but even a Green Sun Zenith.
He's going to get the Dryad Arbor.
He's got the Dryad Arbor, so now he's
5 mana. This looks like a natural order to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Natural order for Crater of
Is that
Behemoth.
Deadsies?
That is +6 16, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yep,
Wow,
that is enough
Jesus.
damage.
Sweet God.
You know,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do the math. 5, 6, 7,
everything
8.
gets +4, so it's
Yeah,
16 for 4 attackers.
16
and
plus
21, 22, 23, 24.
24 minus 1, 23.
Jim has to soak up 6 damage. Unfortunately, he only has 1 point of toughness in play.
Oh my
and he has
goodness.
nothing that he can put into play off the Aether
Yep.
Ball. So Jim just doing the math to make sure, but it looks like Jim Davis is going to fall to that lethal Kratos
That
beam
is
attack.
incredible, the power of natural order in this deck. It's incredible. And Jim is
Yep.
going to put the hand, I can see it coming. He's going to put the hand up here and say, hey, you got it. Reid
There it
Duke
is.
is going on to the finals. Defeats Jim Davis 2-1. Elves defeats Goblins in both the sideboard games where Davis has access to pyrokinesis, but was not able to draw one. And so the birthday boy is moving on to the finals.
Reid Duke, a sigh of relief.
Jeez, oh Pete. Congratulations, Reid. Jim with a heck of a tournament, but not able to defeat Reid. Not able to do it. So, Reid Duke is going to play against Sean Tappan in the finals. We've got combo elves against Reanimator, and I don't even know who to pick.
Good versus evil.
Well, who's the evil?
Grizzlebrain.
I guess that thing is evil, isn't it? I suppose.